Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this month's all-new edition of the Milford Informer. I am Milford TV's Executive Director, Tim Coet. Happy to be back with you here in the month of August, continuing to soak up all of the summertime that we can here on Milford TV, and we hope you're doing the same with a lot of great activities out in the Milford area to enjoy during the summer months. And speaking of some of those great summer activities, tonight on the show we will be joined by the director of Claflin Hill, Paul Surapine, as he shares some details on the great family night at the Bandstand concerts that have been going on this summer, and also reflects on a very special milestone that Claflin has coming up, starting with their new season, which will debut in November of this year. We also will sit down on the show tonight with one of our Milford TV members, Girl Scout Cee Cee Tate, as she reflects on her recently completed Gold Award project that she has been working on right here in our Milford TV studio. So you'll hear directly from Cee Cee for that very special project coming up in just a little bit. So two great sit-downs to bring you on the Informer here tonight. So let's share them with you now. Both of these pieces produced by our great Milford TV producer, Chase Pettinelli. Well, we have a very special guest with us on the Milford Informer this week. She has been a Milford TV member here at our studio for almost exactly a year now, working on a very special Girl Scout Gold Award project. We have Cee Cee joining us here this week. Cee Cee, certainly no stranger here to our Milford TV studios, but so happy to have you joining us on the show this week.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Again, you've been working so hard here at our studio on a very special Gold Award project for Girl Scouts. I want to get into all of the details on your specific project in just a minute. But first, for anybody out there in the community who's not terribly familiar with the Girl Scout Gold Award project, can you just kind of share with us an overview of what a Gold Award project is?
Sure. So the Gold Award is a very complex project with a lot of steps in it, but it is the highest national leadership award a Girl Scout can earn. And the minimum requirement is 80 hours. Right now it's looking like I'll be a little over 1,000, so definitely a big undertaking. But there are various components to the Gold Award, including filling out a proposal. You come up with an idea, something you're passionate about, something you're interested in. You write that all up in the proposal, and it's presented before the committee. And then the committee looks at it, and they can approve it, or they say, well, it needs a little tweaking. But there are different requirements. So it has to be measurable. You have to see how many people it impacts on a either national or global scale. It has to be sustainable. So after you're done with the project, how does it continue to carry on after you leave? And it also has to have a take action component to it. So you have to inspire people through some sort of educational message. How can they take help? How can they continue to work on it after you leave? And what can they do to carry on that work? So it's quite a process, but you get assigned a mentor. They work with you. They make sure that you're staying on track with it. And at the end, you write up another report. You go before them. They either approve it or they say it needs more work. And that's basically it. But it does take a while to do, definitely.
A complex project for sure. And from what I understand, talking to your fellow Girl Scouts in the past who have completed the Gold Award project, not mandatory by any terms. So as you've kind of gone through your years with Girl Scouts, was this always a goal of yours to complete a Gold Award project?
It was, yes. It took a while for me to figure out what I wanted to do it on, but it was, and like you said, it's not mandatory. Only 5% of girls actually receive it. So it is a very prestigious, very complicated award to get.
So kind of delving now into the subject matter of your particular Gold Award project, and I've seen a lot of Gold Award projects over the years. Yours is a truly unique approach, and something that really sort of dovetailed well with our studio here at Milford TV. I want you to give us sort of the history of your project and the inspiration behind it.
All right, well, it's a bit of a story, but I had originally gone out to the town of Tombstone, Arizona, 5 years ago with my family on a trip. And for those of you who might not know, Tombstone is a very authentic, old Wild West town, the stereotypical kind of ghost town you'd think of, with the row of buildings, of saloons, of hotels, everything completely authentic. and all the reenactors dressed up in their costumes, having gunfights in the streets. And so I instantly fell in love with it when I saw it that first time. And I got my parents into it, and we said, we have to come back here. I came home from Tombstone, and I just started watching all of the old westerns from the 50s and the 60s, learning everything I possibly could about the Old West. And a family member of mine actually introduced me to the Gunsmoke radio show, which was on before the television series in the 40s and 50s. And I became hooked on that. And so it was one night I was scrolling through channels, and I came across an episode which featured the character of Miss Kitty, portrayed by Amanda Blake. And I instantly had this strong connection with the character of Kitty. I can't really explain it, but I just became so enthralled with it and the show. And so I called my mom and said, you need to watch this. And we got my dad in, and so it's on every night at our house. But basically, I found the character of Kitty, and as more time went by and I watched more episodes, I said, I'd really like to research the actress behind this character and know more about her. So I started looking and finding articles and uncovered this truly amazing story of her work as an animal activist and conservationist and so many things that she did that no one knows about. A lot of people hear about Betty White and how she was an animal advocate, but not a lot of people know about Amanda. She was definitely more behind the scenes for a celebrity. So I said, I'd really like to share her story with people. And I know there's so many Gunsmoke fans out there still. And a lot of them don't know, or maybe they know a little, but not the whole extent. So there is a book written on her. So I said, well, what other way can I do it? Maybe not a written work since that's already done. So I said, well, maybe I'll try a documentary. And there's so many photos and video clips of her, and put that all together. And so that's how the Gold Award came about, was wanting to share her story. And as I did more research with her work, getting more interested myself in animal conservation, particularly of the African species. So it's bringing her story and bringing the conservation message into one and combining them to share.
A fascinating approach for sure. And making that decision to do a documentary, was this something that you had any sort of experience in before, doing interviews, compiling footage, or was this sort of a new road that you went down, deciding that this was what you wanted to do for your project?
So I had done a 10-minute documentary in ninth grade for a National History Day project. So I had a little bit of experience. I'm not very gifted with technology, nor have I been really ever interested in going into the filmmaking industry. So it was a bit of a hurdle for me to overcome that and learn how to use all the equipment and the cameras, and even just making phone calls for the interviews with people who were heads of international organizations and people who were friends with her or related to Gunsmoke in some way. That was definitely nerve-wracking and challenging at first. And so it was a wonderful experience, but not something I was really familiar with at all going into it.
So as you continue to navigate this process, and we mentioned you've been here with us for a year, but this project was in the making even prior to you starting with us here at Milford TV. What did you maybe learn about the process of documentary making through this project?
Well, the main thing I learned was it takes a lot longer than I thought it would. I have been working on this project for a little over 2 years now. And a lot of it in the beginning was research and reaching out to people, and one thing led to another, and filming all of the interviews. And now the past year has been editing for the most part, and incorporating in music and audio and B-roll photos. So definitely it takes a lot longer. I also learned how to use a new editing platform, Premiere Pro, and every step of the way has been a new learning experience. You think one stage is going to take so long, and it takes longer than you thought it would, or it's more complex than you thought it would, but from writing up the script and putting in the photos and saying, okay, what second do we want to, do the transition to move from this photo to the next, and timing it just so. All of that's been an amazing experience.
So aside from the documentary itself, are there other components of the Gold Award project?
Yes, there are. So there doesn't have to be, as long as it meets the sustainability, measurability. But I've kind of branched off and taken it a step further. And so I have created some physical memorials for Amanda. There were numerous organizations that she helped out during her years as a animal advocate. And so the Phoenix Zoo was a huge one. And I was able to raise the funds to put in a paving stone for her there. And she was also a auxiliary member at the zoo. So I asked the auxiliary ladies and said, can we put her name up on the plaque with the other members? So they did do that in their memorial armada. The Wild Times article, I was able to be a guest writer for that. It's usually just zoo staff. But I was able to write up her contributions, and it was sent out. It's a international electronic magazine Phoenix Zoo sends out. So I was able to do that. And the yearbook, there were some members of the auxiliary who were working on that, and I gave them photos and wrote up a little thing, and they made a page for Amanda and for my project. In addition, the Arizona Animal Welfare League was another organization she helped to co-found, actually. And so I just recently was able to implement and design a plaque, which they put up with a photo and some text of her. So definitely a lot going on, but and also some press releases and radio interview, just getting the word out for people of what she did and what I'm working on. So it's kept me busy.
That's terrific. What are you hoping is the legacy of Amanda Blake, or the takeaway that your audience will take introducing Amanda to maybe a new generation that's not familiar with her at all?
Well, I'd really like them to know everything she did, and I hope that this film will share that with them, and get them to see a new side of her other than just Miss Kitty on Gunsmoke. I think from what I've heard from the other people I've interviewed, that's really what she's known as. And that's wonderful. I love Kitty, I love Gunsmoke, but I think it'll be nice to get that out there to share the other side of her, the personal side of her, and get some of those stories out there that haven't been shared before with fans.
Yeah, that's great. So for you now, this has been multiple years of your life building towards this project. We're so excited that you will be having your world premiere of the documentary here at our Milford TV studios in a few days. Now that you've accomplished this big, ambitious goal, what's next for you?
Well, I'd like to say that this is just the start of my journey. Obviously, it's coming to a close with this Gold Award, that portion of it, but it started out as a Gold Award, and it's been so life-changing, this whole journey, and meeting all of the very special people I've made very good friends with, and going to all these places and learning all these things. I'm inspired to keep learning. And in addition to the animal world and learning about that, I've actually, with my parents, been doing some reenacting, Wild West reenacting, at a place in New Jersey, Wild West City. And I'm a Kitty Russell tribute artist, so I dress up and I portray her character and write up some scripts and do some shows as her. So I just love it. And I'm hoping to get a lot more involved with that once this documentary comes to a close. So it's really not just impacted the Gold Award and the reenacting, but it's really set me up with what I want to do for the rest of my life. So it's amazing.
That's very, very special. So again, I mean, Cee Cee, this has been quite a fascinating journey for you. As we kind of close things out here in the interview, what are some final thoughts that you'd like to share?
Well, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned through this project is not necessarily making the documentary or learning how to make that phone call, even though you're afraid to do it. It's really been figuring out how to find the courage to pursue what you really want to do, and just following your heart and not being afraid to do that. And I know there have been a lot of people who, whether it's been with this documentary or with my future career goals, following the same theme, they might say, oh, it's not going to happen, or there is no Gunsmoke audience, or people aren't going to be interested, or it's not realistic to do that dream that you have. And I just like to say that I've found that if you really have faith in the journey that you're following, and you really just listen to what your passions are and what your joy is, it's so important to find that courage to pursue it, and to know that you can really accomplish anything if you set your mind to it. And don't be afraid to do it, because you can. No matter how unique or out of the box it may be, you can do it if you set your mind to it, as I've found.
Well, I know I can speak for all of us here on our Milford TV staff when I say that we're so proud of the work that you have put in on this project and all that you have accomplished, and really showing that courage to follow that dream. And that's really a great message out there to everyone in the community. If you have those dreams that you have thought about pursuing, this is a great avenue here at Milford TV to explore those dreams, explore those passions. And so we encourage you to come follow in Cee Cee's footsteps, join us here at Milford TV, and start to explore all of the different opportunities that you can pursue here with us. But in terms of Cee Cee, her documentary, again, will make its world premiere here at our studios in just a couple of days, and then we'll also be so excited to share that out for our audiences across all of our platforms. You can view Cee Cee's documentary on our public channel, as well as our high definition channel. You can also stream both of those channels on our Milford TV website as well. You can follow the QR codes when you watch Cee Cee's documentary to take you to a brief survey to give some important feedback as part of the Gold Award project as well. But once again, Cee Cee, congratulations on all of your hard work. We're so excited to see the finished project, and we're excited to see where this journey takes you from here. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Next up on the Milford Informer, we're joined by one of our good friends here in the Milford community. He is the director of the Claflin Hill Symphony Orchestra. Paul Surapine joins us. Paul, welcome back to the Milford Informer. Happy to have you with us.
Thank you for having me back.
So we're so excited to do a deep dive into Claflin, and we'll reflect on some of the past here in our interview here today, but this is just sort of a sneak peek of what's to come here over the next year, as Claflin is about to celebrate a really special milestone season coming up. But before we get to all of that, Paul, I do want to look back on what's been going on with Claflin over the last year. We'll kind of take you back to season 24, which wrapped up for the orchestra this past spring. A really fascinating season, some really great music. You culminated with a really rousing ode to the movies in your season finale concert. As you reflect back now with a little bit of space on season 24, how do you kind of encapsulate how the season went overall?
Well, it was our 24th season, and kind of a continuation of the growth and continued, amazing performances. It just seems every time we do it, it's even better than it was the last month when we got together. Last year was kind of just a continuation of that, where we started with an amazing program in November last year. It was almost like a classical pops concert. The Holiday Pops is always, one of our most popular concerts of the year. The idea is that people that come to Holiday Pops will realize that they like symphony orchestra music and hopefully come back for other things. Because to me, all of our concerts are kind of just like Holiday Pops, kind of a mixture of familiar with new things that we'd like to introduce to our growing audience. We're, in the middle of family night at the Bandstand right now, and I've had a lot of great nights there. We've been over at Plains Park this year instead of Town Park because Town Park's being renovated. But Plains is a really great venue too for concerts. The pavilion there actually is really good for instrumental performance. The sound kind of gathers up under the pavilion and blends, and then we shoot it out there with the sound reinforcement guys. and it's a humongous sound.
It's been great having a chance to cover those concerts for sure, and our staff members Chase and Patrick have been doing an outstanding job of bringing some new and in-depth coverage to those performances. I would say you're about at the halfway point of the Family Night at the Bandstand season as we record this interview right now.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious, Paul, when you transition from the symphony season to the Family Night at the Bandstand season, obviously you're providing audiences with kind of a contrast in programs and the bands that you bring in. What are sort of the contrasts in the audiences that you bring in, your symphony audiences versus the audiences that come for Family Night at the Bandstand?
It's a lot of people that we see all year long at the symphony. They come out with their lawn chairs to Family Night at the Bandstand. A lot of them actually came to the symphony audience because first they came to Family Night at the Bandstand and then realized this isn't just summer concerts. This is part of a whole empire of great performances that goes on all year long. It's a different kind of audience in some ways. It's a sort of marketing tool for Claflin Hill. You know, we play in Northbridge every year also. We played in Medway at Celebrate Medway Day. This past July. We've done that pretty much every year for the last 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, I mean, it really just shows you that Claflin Hill is a year-round organization, whether it's the symphony concerts, whether it's Family Night at the Bandstand, all of these other performances in between. You guys really don't take much time off in between performances. And so as we start to look ahead, you've given us already a great sneak peek into your 25th anniversary season, and I do like the way that you're really easing people into this season with we're just going to give you Beethoven's Fifth, no big deal. I think we've got the Magic Flute in there maybe as well as part of that program. So right off the bat, a big bombastic start to the season. I'm curious more, you personally, Paul. 25 years of Claflin Hill. When you think about that, when you start to think ahead to the milestone that you're about to celebrate here this next year coming up, what does that mean to you personally?
Well, it's been my life. It was my career. It's not something I expected. I was kind of planning to be the world's next greatest clarinet performer. I studied in New York for 15 years with a teacher named Kalman Opperman, who is generally considered to be one of the greatest clarinet teachers of the last 150 years. I moved to Milford in '92, started to get involved in local music ensembles like the Milford Concert Band, which was still ongoing at the time, and the town had just built them a new bandstand. And I started to meet lots of other musicians, and I kind of thought, we should just all stay home and play music in our own community. And my kids could actually come to the concerts every night and see Daddy playing and have a great time. And all these other fellow musicians that are starting families, we should just, why travel all over the place doing gigs all the time? I think we could build something here that's just as good as any major city orchestra that we get called to play in. Now, as I'm getting a little older, and looking at, this 25th anniversary season and the future to come, hopefully, it's more almost like fearful that we have to keep it alive. There have been 4 or 5 risings of the culture, for want of a better term. This is something I came up with, the rising of the culture, in Milford.
It's amazing to just start to reflect on the impact that Claflin has had in this region, just the cultural icon that it is here in this area, and what an opportunity it is for people here in Milford and the greater Milford area and beyond to be able to come to a town like this and hear the quality of music that Claflin is able to produce year after year. So it really is just such a very special institution to have here, and it's an embarrassment of riches in a way for a small town, a relatively small town like Milford, to have an orchestra like Claflin calling this area home. And so just so important to be able to see Claflin continue to survive and thrive for another 25 years to come, and that's important for people out there to understand, to continue to support this institution, to make sure that it continues to endure for the foreseeable future, which obviously you can do by making sure you buy your tickets to the upcoming 25th anniversary season of Claflin Hill, and also to continue to explore other ways. I know that there are a lot of ways that individuals, businesses, organizations can get involved to continue to help make sure that Claflin continues to stay strong, Paul. So I know people can probably learn a lot more about that on your website, or give Claflin Hill a call and see how you can contribute to make sure that what you're doing today continues for another 25 years to come.
Yeah, well, from your mouth to God's ears. Yeah, I mean, last year one of our things was to launch a new website. So that's a year old, and we updated it and freshened it up. And so, yeah, there's a lot of information you can find out there. We've already posted the upcoming season, and also other ways that people can help. Business owners can become sponsors or supporters, buying program book ads or becoming major sponsors of symphony concerts or family night to bandstand concerts. Music was always one of the identifiers of Milford. Great baseball was another one I hear, but great music. And, I was lucky I moved here by accident, I guess.
It again continues to bear repeating just what an important piece of culture that Claflin Hill truly is here in the Milford community. And we're just scratching the surface again on really digging into what Claflin means to this community, the history and the roots of Claflin here in Milford, and what we're going to do over the course of the 25th anniversary season of the Claflin Hill Symphony is really dig into that history and share it with you. And Paul's going to be a big part of that, so you can be prepared to enjoy a lot of segments here on The Informer and on Milford TV here in the months ahead, as we share all of those great stories with you about the history of Claflin Hill. So that's definitely something to look forward to, as well as an impressive season of symphony concerts coming up as Claflin celebrates their 25th anniversary season with their first performance starting in November. We can't wait to be there to cover it. We can't wait to be there every step of the way. And so, Paul, we thank you so much for joining us, and we'll look forward to hearing you much, much more in the year ahead.
And thank you for all that you do as part of this. I mean, you have an amazing station, and the productions that you produce after a concert are worthy of any major city in America also. Thank you.
I appreciate it, Paul. Thank you so much. That is all the time we have for you on this week's edition of the Milford Informer. We thank you, as always, for tuning in. And from all of us here at Milford TV, this is Tim Coet saying have a great week. So long, everybody.